Okay, we are going to go over some additions you can add to the Pip Boy. It's not going to be a full tutorial. I might make a full tutorial if people want more detail, or you can also jump onto the Discord. It's open for anyone right now. You can ask questions about it, and we might be able to walk you through it if you want to figure out how to do this. So we're going to add in how to change the Pip Boy to be a third-person system. And then in addition, we are going to briefly go over if you want the Pip Boy to have items in it that read from a database that you can buy, and you can even keep those items between levels. And if you save the game and then play, it remembers what items you have. So that's pretty cool. That one's a little more complicated than the third person one, so we'll probably do that after this. For the third person, it's not actually too bad. The first thing I kind of did was I just grabbed an animation. So I started with the idle, and if you grab the bones, so the upper arm here, and you move it, you can actually add keyframes and basically animate within Unreal. Like this. I'm not going to do it, but so I created this, which is just from the idle and just moving the arm up, moving the head down a little bit, and then I also right clicked and you can remove the frames from this to the end. So I shortened the animation just a little bit. I then grabbed this animation, the new one I duplicated and reanimated, and I created an animation montage right there. One thing you need to do with the animation montage is you want to uncheck under asset details, enable auto blend out, because you want the arm to stay there after it's animated. And then in Unreal Engine 5.6, they have this by default, but if not, you want to check. Make sure in your animation graph you have a default slot so you can play montages. If not, playing the montage, this won't work. Okay, so now that you have that, I changed the logic here, by the way. I changed it to is Pip Boy active. I think in the tutorial I did is Pip Boy down. This just logically makes a bit more sense, but it doesn't make a difference as long as you have the nodes connected correctly. So if you press Q, is it active? So by default it's not going to, so false. So it turns into active. And then I just have a node free to move, which I disable, and then I play my montage here. So there's a bit of lag there. Just like that. And then you go down and you can move. What stops, so I'm trying to move here, but I can't move, and I'm trying to move, and then you have to finish in order to move. And what's doing that is I have a little macro, is move enabled, and all this is hey, are you free to move, and set it there. The reason this is a macro is I was experimenting with a few different ways to when I should let the player move. So instead of needing to change the branches every single time I thought of a new idea, I just made a macro, and it's a little bit cleaner anyway. So it's like, hey, if you're allowed to move, let them move and look, and if not, don't let them move. The reason, there's another way that you might think about doing this. So you could be like, well, move disabled, disable movement. That seems rational, right? Like that should work. But look what happens if you try to disable the movement. If you like jump, you'll just freeze in the air, which maybe you want that, like if you want to pause the game for the menu to come up, but that didn't seem right for me, so I just have a check for all the input, which seems better. Okay, so we bring up this timeline is just like the tutorial. It's a little bit, I think I changed the time, the other one was like 0.8 or something. And then when I'm blending the camera here, I'm blending it in world space instead of local space. And the reason that is I'm keeping the third person camera on the camera arm, And then I'm blending to the other camera, which is attached to the arm bone. And this, I have a camera here, but I never actually use it. It's actually more for preview. The reason I have this here is so I can drag this player in and see, like, okay, is that lined up well? Do I like that look? And then from there, I basically copy like the field of view and the location in world space when blending with this. See, I'm grabbing like, okay, what is the field of view, and go ahead and blend my blend the follow camera's field of view to either the original field of view or the Pip Boy camera view. And then after, this is kind of new since the other one was basically on all the time since the game started, but this one kind of makes sense in my mind to have it off when you're just like running around, just have like a default texture, and then whenever you bring it up, have it turn on. In my mind, that kind of made the most sense. So instead of having this on begin play, we trigger it if the Pip Boy is active. So hey, if this is active, go ahead and grab the render target from this Pip Boy widget. This is really finicky. This is probably the most finicky part of this entire system. But basically, you need to position this right. So this is in like a very specific spot. So I think in the later Unreal versions, you can't just set this to 0, the scale, that works and it still renders. But I think the later Unreal engines, unfortunately for us, are smarter and know when something is scaled to 0 and will cull it out. And what that means is if it's culled out, it won't render and it won't update, which is good for performance, but that means your menu won't work. So you need to put it in such a spot where it still is like technically being rendered, but isn't like really visible or obtrusive. So it's a one-way mesh, so I kind of, if I stuck it there below the edge, it's technically still being rendered, but it's not so far below the mesh that it gets culled out. So that works for me, but you'll have to find your own finicky little spot. And then if the Pip Boy's up, I created a default. I'm just doing this little alien devil creature when it's not. And then when it's done, I turn off the montage and I kind of blend out. I grab the mesh, grab the animation instance, and then stop the montage and let the player move again. Technically, I could probably put a delay here, but that's okay. I don't mind that. And then the scrolling, this is all the same as the tutorial. But that is all basically for the third person. The main things to keep in mind is the turn off blend, and then make sure to have your default slot. And then when you blend the camera in space, you want to lock the player and you want to blend in world space instead of local space. And that worked pretty well for me. Again, if you have tutorial or questions about this, you can jump on Discord or leave a comment and I will do my best to answer them. This video itself is a response to a comment, so I like making stuff about things people actually want to know. So that's that system. Okay, we are now going to jump over to this item selling system. I don't have any money right now, but that's okay. So what is different about this? Well, I have a whole save system, right? So I have a game instance. I'm grabbing the player data. I'm not going to have time to go over details. This is kind of more advanced. And there is other tutorials on how to set up game save states. I just want to kind of introduce the idea of like, hey, these things can talk to each other. These things kind of go well together, and you can build on the existing system. to add functionality here. So this like will populate the buttons with the items from the menu. So where is it doing that? Let's see, event construct, it sets a loop, the things, buttons, create buttons. Right here. Is this is the, yeah, this is, okay, this is the widget, so I think this is the one. Here we go. This is the original one I think we made. Fairly simple. And this is kind of the more complex one. Let's go to the event graph. There we go. Yeah, this is the one. This is just an individual button. It has, on construct, it checks the row, it gets the data table, the item row name gets set. So when you're creating the buttons, it's like saying, hey, you're this, you're this, you're this, and it's grabbing these from this item data table here. I just kind of filled it up with random things that feel like they would be in a Fallout game and gave them some random prices. These, I've gone over these before, but I might do some more. CSV files are awesome within Unreal Engine. You can set a lot of different data. You can work on your data sheets within Excel or on Google Sheets, and then you can import it really, really easily as long as you have a structure set up for it. Oh yeah, I was messing with the third person within this, but it got a bit messy using both the save system and the third person. So I'm creating these widgets and populate them to what they are. And this is the scrolling system, just like before, but we need to check what item it is, because notice when we scroll, the title on the left changes, and the button also changes on whether or not we've bought it or not. So this is the scrolling system with that kind of added functionality, and it also is checking the game instance and getting data on whether or not we own that. So see, I've clicked this, and these are already grayed out because we already own them. So it's doing some information like that. And there's the button. This is the widget, or this is the one that I don't think we're actually using. Yeah, this was the old one. That is the more basic one. Yeah, just preview thing. But this is the more complex one. And I think that's it. Obviously there's more there, but I just wanted to kind of introduce that idea and kind of set up a basis or foundation before I go into more detail. If people want to know this stuff, feel free to jump on Discord, or if you have insight on this stuff and want to help people out. And I'll see you all later.